start here. What are some of the most common forms of online identity theft and fraud? Is it happening through social media, phone calls?
I'd say that there's a number of ways that it's happening. Social media is certainly one of the ways, phone calls, phishing on emails. The main way that it happens, though, is the fact that so much of our data has been hacked and it's out on the dark web for sale. And that's what criminals use to steal your identity. So, for example, buying your Social Security number online would cost me $1. To buy your driver's license information, generally around $20. And then to buy your credit report, depending on how good your credit is, the higher your credit, the more I can steal. It'll be anywhere from $80 to $150. Now, you combine that with the amount of information that we give out freely by mistake, people can steal your identities very easily. And what I'd say is the information that we give out freely by mistake, I see it all the time on Facebook, and my friends are sending out things. Fill out this form and send it to 10 of your friends. And they ask you for things like, what was your high school mascot? What's your favorite ice cream flavor? What was your first car? You go through the list, and so many of those things are the exact same questions that you're asked if you forget your password on a website. And between that social engineering and what has been hacked, the bad guys have everything they need to become you.
Yeah, I'm really glad you pointed out the fun little surveys on Facebook that I see my friends do the same thing. And it's like, oh, we'll tell you, what kind of gemstone you align with if you fill out this survey or something ridiculous. Well, I'm just curious, how do you know if your identity's been stolen? Your information's out there on the dark web. Maybe it's being sold, but just because it's sold doesn't mean it's being utilized yet. So what kind of signs can you look out for to know that, my ID has been compromised?
Yeah, good point, because it has been sold doesn't mean it's being used yet. I get alerts. This year alone, my data has been sold as part of package sales. And a package sale means that the crooks buy different breach sets, put them together, so there's more information about me, enough to probably become me. They package it and they sell it to other bad guys. That's happened to me 3 times this year. So in my opinion, it's not a matter of if, but when. So the things that we can all do is, subscribe to a monitoring service, and they're actually free. And if you go to the major credit reporting agencies or companies like Credit Karma, you can sign up. And if credit has been issued in your name or a credit check has been issued, you're going to find out within probably 24, 48 hours, which will give you the time you need to log it and make sure that you're saying this isn't me. Because one of the real problems is this is a giant and growing threat. Last year, 14.3 million Americans had their identity stolen. Now, the number of people went down slightly, but the amount of theft went up $2.2 billion to $16.9 billion. And the real unfortunate thing is because these crooks are so good at being you, the amount that the consumer had to eat doubled to $3.5 billion. So the sooner that you're able to log the fact this wasn't me, that's going to help you prove and then not have to take the loss.
That's so fascinating. We said before, Florida is leading the nation in identity theft, according to the Identity Theft Resource Center that Sharon sent me. Is it because Floridians are easier targets? Why do you think it's so rampant here?
I think there's a number of things. One, these things certainly go by population and where the breaches have occurred and those types of things. And it also depends on how easy it is to basically fake the driver's license, because that's the number one way that people steal your identity. So Florida, over 51% of the identity theft happens in credit card fraud. And often that happens when I go into a store and I'm going to, if you buy anything more than $250 or so, the clerk immediately says to you, do you want to save 5% today, and open up a credit card? And that's what the crooks look for. Because if you're doing that, if you think about any time it's happened to you when you've been in a store, they ask you for 2 things, your Social Security number and a driver's license. Now, I will say that driver's licenses, mostly coming from China, are so good, law enforcement can't tell them from the fakes, fakes from the good. That's why many law enforcement agencies use our system to be able to identify fake IDs. So if law enforcement can't tell it apart, how is that store clerk going to do it? They're not trained, they don't know. So I go into a store, I buy 5 TVs, I open an instant credit account. They ask me for the fake ID. I have all your information that I bought on the web. For $100, I went to a website and I bought this fake ID that has all the holograms and everything. Next thing you know, there's an account opened up in my name. I'm stuck proving it wasn't me. The crook now has something that they can easily go sell and make money off of. So that's a major portion of it. And then in Florida, 15% of it comes from people opening up loans in your name, and they do it the exact same way.
Wow. That kind of leads well into my next question, and it's not really specific to the data in that report that was mentioned in the pitch email, but what I thought was really fascinating was that they're realizing that personal information is actually becoming less valuable and attractive to cyber criminals because they're relying less on people's personal information and more on consumer behaviors to commit the fraud. So basically, scammers are making more money defrauding businesses with the ransomware and the phishing schemes rather than relying on people to just submit their information willingly. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, what they're talking about there is the fact that they're hacking businesses and getting this information. A lot of what they used to need to do was through phishing, sending you an email that looked like a proper email from a company or directing you to a website that looked like a legitimate website and asking you to put in information that they would then use now to be able to, steal your identity or, commit a crime. The problem is now there's so many places where all of our data exists in a digital form. They're finding it a lot easier to, hack that company and get massive amounts of data to use as opposed to hoping that I'm going to be dumb enough to click on that link. So that has become one of the, the big ways they're getting the data. But also, in fact, the largest increase in these types of crimes is occurring in what's called account takeover. And because the crooks have realized they can make a lot more money out of it. And account takeover means I get enough information about you that I'm able to go hijack your bank account or your investment account. Or I get into your credit card online and I convert all of your loyalty points into debit cards and I get them sent to me. Because they're able to make so much more money, the amount of fraud by account takeover increased 74% last year. So it's a rather big uptick. But if you think about, if I get access to the bank account, online, in a jump or two, I've got all that money in Bitcoin. You will never find it and never see it again. So it's one of the reasons that I say to people all the time, you need to protect yourself and do things like you're at work with your own personal accounts. I'm sure that your company makes you change your password on your corporate account stuff probably every 3 months. We should all be doing the same thing at home. Don't use the same password across multiple accounts. Change your passwords frequently. Don't make them easy to understand. Don't give out that information that's going to make it easy for me as a bad guy to be able to figure out those answers to those challenge questions and change your passwords.
Great tips there. And Bryan, that just made me think of something. I've had people ask me this question before, and I'm not sure of the answer. What happens if and when you click or tap on the link from a phishing email from a scammer? Does the scammer instantly have access to some of your personal information just from you visiting the website, or does the theft only start when the victim puts in their personal information on the website?
Well, there's a number of things that can happen, and the answer to your question is both. So the first thing that can happen is it can download malware, just basically key tracking software, and they can track all what you're typing, each key that you hit and when, and that will give them access to your passwords. The other thing is they might ask you for information, and when you type that in, you're sending it to them. The really important thing to know is No bank, no retailer, no government agency is ever going to ask you to enter in that information. You're positive it's a phishing attempt if somebody asks you for that information. At our company, what we do, my cyber team is sending out emails all the time to our internal employees, trying to catch them. And we make websites and we make emails that look like they're real, just to train our people. Don't click. If in doubt, don't click. Pick up the phone and call. That way you know for sure what's going on. It doesn't take a lot to be a good hacker. It just takes people who aren't thinking and click.
Let's localize it just a little bit. What's the first thing someone in Florida, maybe specific, a Central Floridian, should do if they think their identity or personal information has been stolen? Who should they talk to or contact?
I'd say the first thing is talk to their bank, number one. Talk to, if it's a new credit account opening or something, talk to the retailer or the issuer of the credit. I'd say immediately report it to the FTC. And the other thing I'd say is talk to the three major credit reporting agencies. Let them all be aware of it, because you set yourself up now to stop it from happening again. And you now have started that chain of proof that it wasn't you who did it. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to make sure that you're not held accountable for those charges.
So much valuable information here. Bryan, I don't have any other questions lined up. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or maybe kind of a few creative or especially deceptive examples that you've seen from virtual scams that you wanted to mention?
I think the major thing you should look for right now is the bad guys are preying on COVID, and we're seeing it across the country, is people are getting emails or texts that say that they have been in contact with somebody, and for contact tracing, we now need this information from you. And that is the type of, they're asking for information that will be used to steal your identity. Be very, very clear on the fact that the health department is not going to ask for PII to do contact tracing. So be careful during this COVID time when bad guys with zero morals are using that to steal from good people.
Wonderful conversation. I really hope that some people will hear this and maybe think twice about those Facebook quizzes, and maybe being more careful about their passwords and changing them, because lots of businesses are good about keeping their password fresh of the employees, but that's not always something that we do at home. It makes me kind of want to change a few passwords right now.
Well, I hope so, Katrina, and I hope we helped a few people today.